Well, now for a look at some local matters, voters in Maine will head to the polls later this month for the state's primaries field testing. That's a ranked choice voting system. They'll also be electing a new governor in November. That's to replace a controversial conservative, Paul LePage. Christopher Cousins is the State House bureau chief for the Bangor Daily News. He joins us now from Augusta, Maine. Hey, Chris, thanks so much for joining us. So, Republican Governor Paul LePage is term limited at this point. A wide range of candidates are competing to replace him. How's that race shaping up?
Well, with the primary election next Tuesday, there's a lot of questions in a lot of voters' minds about how this is going to go. There are 7 candidates vying for the Democratic nomination and 4 candidates who are Republicans. In addition, there are 2 potentially influential independents laying in wait for the November election. So we're all looking forward to Tuesday. It's been hard to tell so far who's in the lead, but there are some indications.
I want to turn to the House for a second. Both of Maine's seats are up for grabs. Let's start with the incumbent, Republican Congressman Bruce Poliquin. What's he facing?
Well, there's a 3-way Democratic primary in that race as well, which will be decided on Tuesday. There's a state house leader. There's a well-known philanthropist and a lesser-known bookseller. It's been decades since any incumbent in our 2nd district has lost a re-election bid. And Mr. Poliquin has something like $2.8 million in the bank for his campaign. So any challengers face an uphill battle there.
That's a lot of money, especially for a local race. I want to ask you about Democratic Congresswoman Shelley Pingren. What do we know about that race?
Well, she faces a Republican opponent who she's beaten before, and also in the past few months, a new independent has entered that race who was formerly a Democrat. So the conventional wisdom is that Shelley, Representative Pingree, is probably safe in that race, although this independent could split the vote potentially and throw the outcome of that up in the air.
And independent Senator Angus King also facing a challenge as well. There's a bit of drama on the Republican side of the race. What exactly can you tell us about that?
Well, that's been a very interesting thing to cover, actually. There was to be a Republican primary in that race, but one of the candidates, Max Lynn, after a challenge from the Breakey campaign, was found to have had some fraudulent signatures on his paperwork, including some dead people and several people who testified that they never signed. So that's been through the Secretary of State's office and the courts latest decision is that he's not in the race. He continues to campaign, though. There's signs all over the state. He's sending out mailers, and just this week has appealed a lower court's decision in federal court. So there's only a few days left till the primary, and we're all very interested to see if he's going to be on the ballot. My money is that he won't be, but we'll see.
Interesting to see what happens there. So what would you say really are the most important issues for voters in Maine?
Well, there are definitely some hot-button issues going on here. Under Governor LePage, there's been a prolonged effort to expand our Medicaid program under the provisions of the Affordable Care Act. LePage has vetoed that successfully 5 times. And since then, there's been a referendum seeking to force the issue. LePage is still stalling on that. So that could be a big issue for whoever the next governor is. We have like a lot of states, there's a terrible opioid addiction crisis here, and there's a lot of talk about what we could do about that. But like anywhere, the big issue here is jobs. I mean, we have a very low unemployment rate, but our tax revenues are suffering, and all the candidates are talking about ways to improve the economy, as they always do in every election.
Maine is actually set to be the first state to use ranked choice voting in the statewide election. Can you explain sort of what is ranked choice, and why is there so much confusion over this?
Well, ranked choice voting is a system where each voter can vote for multiple candidates based on their order of preference. So you vote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you want to, and the intention of it is for the winning candidate to get more than 50% support. So if that doesn't happen in the first round, the last place candidate is eliminated from counting, and the ballots are all tallied again with that candidate's second place votes until somebody gets 50% or more. This is a system that was implemented by direct initiative from the voters, and there's been a long battle in the legislature and in the courts over whether we should continue with it. There are parts of it that are arguably in violation of Maine's constitution. So actually on Tuesday, while we do ranked choice voting for the first time, we're also going to be voting on a question that could actually end ranked choice voting in Maine if those constitutional issues aren't fixed by 2021.
Christopher Cousins, thank you very much for joining us and giving an insight of politics outside the Beltway.
Happy to. Thank you very much.